Let's get into it. Soul Not For Sale podcast. Coach Colin here. Trump. Whew, this is a lot. Trump orders airstrikes on the Houthis, takes out top ISIS leader, and then tweets about it. I mean, this guy, listen, all about that peace through strength, but when you push him, he's just like, I'll turn you into a tweet. You trying to get turned into a tweet? This is wild right now that this is happening in the world. Let me take you through the actual reports of what's going on. Then I'll show you the tweets that he made recently. And yeah, you'll get a good knowledge of what's going on by the time this is all done. Wild stuff, though.
Lucas.
John, these are the most significant airstrikes since President Trump returned to the White House, and the first time U.S. jets have struck these Iranian-backed Houthi rebels in Yemen since President Trump returned to the White House. U.S. officials say F-18 Super Hornets from the flight deck of the USS Harry S. Truman were the vanguard of the strikes, along with Air Force fighter jets and drones. President Trump announcing the strikes just a few minutes ago on his Truth Social, saying, quote, today I have ordered the United States military to launch decisive and powerful military action against the Houthi terrorists in Yemen. They have waged an unrelenting campaign of piracy, violence, and terrorism against American and other ships, aircraft, and drones. Joe Biden's response was pathetically weak, so the unrestrained Houthis just kept going. And John, recall, it was just days after taking office, one of President Trump's first executive orders was redesignating the Houthis a foreign terrorist organization after the Biden administration removed them. The State Department made it official earlier this month, marking Houthi leaders ripe for assassination. The targets in today's strikes include air defense systems and missile and drone factories, and also include a strike against one of the Houthis' top missile officers. The Houthis are backed by Iran. Many consider them modern-day Barbary pirates. Since the October 7th massacre, they have launched over 100 attacks against commercial shipping. U.S. warships also came into the crosshairs of the Houthis dozens of times in recent years. The Houthis launched anti-ship ballistic missiles and crewed drones at the American warships. None were successful and all were shot down. And just a few days ago, Houthis leader said attacks would resume against shipping in the Red Sea, and including Israeli ships. Now, General Kurilla, the head of U.S. forces in the Middle East, has been itching to launch these strikes to reopen those vital shipping lanes and destroy Iran's proxy force in Yemen. Kurilla ordered Truman, the U.S. Navy aircraft carrier, back to the Red Sea late last month to be prepared to launch these strikes, and those Super Hornets, as you can see there. Now, last month, the Houthis launched surface-to-air missiles at an Air Force F-16 orbiting overhead, as well as an American Reaper drone. And, John, it's not just in Yemen where U.S. forces have been engaged. Last night, President Trump announced the #2 leader in ISIS had been killed in an American drone strike. We have some video footage, as you can see there. That happened in western Iraq yesterday. And, John, these airstrikes against the Iranian-backed Houthi rebels were meant to send a message to Tehran as well, to stop their support for the Houthi rebels. Of course, that's where these missiles and drones that the Houthis fire at commercial ships and U.S. warships come from. I'll also read a little more from President Trump's lengthy statement on Truth Social. He had a...
Here, let me just break down that whole statement for you. Here it is right here, right? And then I'll just, let's see if this will actually read it. Let's go. Let's see. Will this read it?
Today, I have ordered the United States military to launch decisive and powerful military action against the Houthi terrorists in Yemen. They have waged an unrelenting campaign of piracy, violence, and terrorism against American and other ships, aircraft, and drones. Joe Biden's response was pathetically weak, so the unrestrained Houthis just kept going. It has been over a year since a U.S.-flagged commercial ship safely sailed through the Suez Canal, the Red Sea, or the Gulf of Aden. The last American warship to go through the Red Sea, 4 months ago, was attacked by the Houthis over a dozen times. Funded by Iran, the Houthi thugs have fired missiles at U.S. aircraft and targeted our troops and allies. These relentless assaults have cost the U.S. and world economy many billions of dollars, while, at the same time, putting innocent lives at risk. The Houthi attack on American vessels will not be tolerated. We will use overwhelming lethal force until we have achieved our objective. The Houthis have choked off shipping in one of the most important waterways of the world, grinding vast swaths of global commerce to a halt, and attacking the core principle of freedom of navigation upon which international trade and commerce depends. Our brave warfighters are right now carrying out aerial attacks on the terrorist bases, leaders, and missile defenses to protect American shipping, air, and naval assets, and to restore navigational freedom. No terrorist force will stop American commercial and naval vessels from freely sailing the waterways of the world. To all Houthi terrorists, your time is up, and your attacks must stop starting today. If they don't, hell will rain down upon you like nothing you have ever seen before. To Iran, support for the Houthi terrorists must end immediately. Do not threaten the American people, their president, who has received one of the largest mandates in presidential history, or worldwide shipping lanes. If you do, beware, because America will hold you fully accountable, and we won't be nice about it.
So that's the full statement from Trump there. And then I might as well just jump over to this statement as well before I go back to the report. But today, the future, because that strike that you just saw, it actually took somebody out today. The fugitive leader of ISIS in Iraq was killed. He was relentlessly hunted down by our intrepid warfighters. His miserable life was terminated, along with another member of ISIS, in coordination with the Iraqi government and the Kurdish regional government. Peace through strength. Man, you got to remember, Trump's not a joke. You got to remember that. You know, a lot of stuff's funny. A lot of stuff's cool to see. He's not a joke at all. At all. So that's currently what's happening. This somebody better back down, and it's not going to be America, obviously. It's going to have to be Iran. It's going to have to be these people. So I guess he's going at it again. Let's jump back into this report quickly. I'll just skip over a little bit. He's just going to read it again.
That during the Biden administration, the Navy said it was basically more engaged in seaborne operations than at any time since, I think, World War II. Do I have that right? And is this kind of intended to put an end to that kind of thing on the part of the Houthis?
That's right, John. Multiple times U.S. warships came under ballistic missile attack in the Red Sea and off the coast of Yemen in the Gulf of Aden. And just for context, that has never happened in world history. Ballistic missiles have never been launched at U.S. warships before. Thankfully, they were all shot down. But that was always a concern in the Pentagon. What if those missiles gets through? It was notable in President Biden, in his farewell address, he talked about U.S. forces not being engaged in combat. And if you looked at the Navy press release when the USS Dwight D. Eisenhower strike group returned from the Red Sea, they talked about hundreds of bombs being dropped against the Houthis, dozens of surface-to-air missiles from those Super Hornets shooting down those crew drones that are flying overhead. There was also an issue of cost. You know, these interceptor missiles launched from the guided missile destroyers and cruisers in the strike group, John, those missiles cost millions of dollars, shooting down what were, in essence, flying lawnmowers launched from the Houthis, very crude drones, just, $50,000 or so in cost. And the fact that these shipping lanes, vital shipping lanes that are needed for commerce, for the oil trade, have been essentially shut down since the October 7th massacre, commercial ships having to take that long journey around Africa.
He called them flying lawnmowers. To add insult to injury, you got Trump yelling at you to slow it down, F around, find out, not playing around. And then you have people on the news saying, they basically only have flying lawnmowers. Just so this is the American military. I mean, these things are easily shot down. It just costs us a lot of money. That's all. Wow. Interesting.
Certainly adding to the cost. So certainly there's an economic message here with these strikes against the Houthis today. And by the way, John, these strikes could go on for a number of days. That's not immediately clear.
Right, because I read that one of the goals is to target their weapons storage facilities, which are reportedly deep underground. So they're going to be using those bunker busters and probably repeatedly to try to get to those warehouses that are essentially buried.
right? And it's notable, John, those Super Hornets carry 2,000-pound JDAM satellite-guided bombs. Those are not bunker busters, so if you needed those, you probably have to call in something heavier, some B-52 bombers, perhaps a B-2 bombers. We saw that one time during the Biden administration, B-2s launching from Whiteman Air Force Base in Missouri. But certainly this is a powerful message being sent. You know, you also have Tomahawk cruise missiles aboard those guided missile destroyers in the Truman Strike Group. We didn't hear about any Tomahawk strikes today, but certainly there's more firepower in the area if called upon.
A powerful message being sent not only to the Houthis, but as you say, to Iran as well, Lucas.
Wow. This is crazy. Again, man, the firepower. You know, people, you know, Trump became a meme of sorts, an icon of sorts, and they forget that he can just snap his fingers and make some real stuff happen. You know? I bet Canada's over there right now like, what happened? What happened? Yeah, no, they just took him out. I don't know, they were just, I guess those guys were just standing up to him, you know? They just, you know how that goes. Yeah, eh? Can we call Washington? I think everybody's on notice right now. This is a wild thing to have happen, especially if it goes on for the next few days. I mean, you know, where are these warehouses? I have no idea. You know, if they're around innocent people, that's going to happen. You know, goes without saying. You know, Trump didn't talk about, you know, tiptoeing around the situation. He talked about hellfire. When you say hellfire, that means it's just you're letting it loose. And quite honestly, there's some guys itching. You know, I should show you those guys too. Did I even show you those guys? I didn't even show you those guys. Itching to let some stuff loose. Those are all the pilots that took off to actually do that airstrike, to conduct that airstrike. You know, I don't know how many you counted there. I think it was like 7 or 8, but they all went out there. It's not a game. It's not a game. He's not playing around. Now, I know a lot of people view Trump as the anti-war president. He's anti-war in the sense he doesn't want to see innocent people die needlessly. But he's not anti-war in the sense that he's going to negotiate with these people who have taken fire at certain ships. You know, I think he has that line. Quite honestly, you know, it's not even a joke. Like, he has that line where peace through strength means that there's strength. It means that he's going to, you know, talk strongly and suggest strongly. But once the line's been crossed, that strength means the military. It's not a game. You know, I'll play another report here.
Where I left off with Lucas on that last question, yes, the Houthis are the target, but it's just as much a message to the Ayatollahs in Tehran, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And all I can say about these strikes is, finally, this situation in the Red Sea has dragged on just far, far, far too long. What I'm hoping is that we'll see a really consistent and sustained campaign against the main targets that the Houthis are using to attack shipping. And that should include everything from weapon storage to command and control and radar sites. And because Iran supplies and supports the Houthis, of course, backed by China, who has recently sent a ship with missile propellant ingredients over to Iran, you know, so Iran will get this message as well. And great work here by the Harry S. Truman, Carrier Air Wing 1, and of course there'll be some land-based U.S. Air Force fighters participating too. It's great to see our joint forces in action. General Kirill is doing the right thing.
Why did we tolerate this? I mean, as I mentioned with Lucas, the U.S. Navy was in the most sustained combat campaign since World War II under the previous administration. Why did we put up with it?
That's right. They played zone defense and did a tremendous job knocking down drones, missiles, taking out unmanned surface vessels. And, John, we used a rotation of the end, 5 different aircraft carriers, starting with the Gerald Ford right after the October 7th attacks and coming up now to the Harry S. Truman. We've had an aircraft carrier in that region consistently since then. What I like is seeing us use the striking power. You know, President Trump has been really smart to use the striking power of the U.S. aircraft carrier to really get after these Houthi rebels. Remember, that's an illegitimate regime. The UN doesn't recognize them. They've been there a long time, but they're now creating a level of chaos, and we can't afford to have shipping closed off and our forces pinned down. So it was time to take offensive action, and I'm really glad President Trump has done it.
The regime may be illegitimate, but there are about 35 million people or so in Yemen, and virtually all of them are under the control of the Houthis. So is this possibly the first stage of knocking that regime out of power?
Interesting question. I don't know if regime change is the goal here. I think we really want to see them take out military capability. That will be the primary job. I would not be surprised to see these strikes go on for a little bit. And then, again, this has really got to send that message to Iran to stop supplying. We want to take out the weapon storage areas, the radar sites. And Iran has a ship there that they use to help the Houthis target maritime traffic. We need to end all of that. And so I hope the Ayatollah is really going to reconsider his military support down there, and that we use our U.S. military forces in a way that makes a very strong statement that we're done. We're done with these attacks against international shipping. This cannot go on, no matter how much Yemeni Houthi military capability we have to blow up.
Yeah, the Houthis are.
Wow. Wow, the Warhawks are loving this. I gotta say, they did Lindsey Graham right now. Lindsey Graham's probably just at home like, oh, God. Oh, Lord. When the Lord closes a Ukraine, it opens up a Yemen. Oh, thank the Lord. Oh, my gosh. Here's some of that money. Can I go over to Yemen yet? Is it done? Is it blown up? I'll go over afterwards. Oh, there has to be some money. I can't wait. Oh, gosh. I'm going to call Raytheon right now. Tell him what happened. It's crazy. Crazy. I'm pretty anti-war myself. You know, you never want to see, you know, I have the same stance as like Trump. You know, you don't want to see people die, but you also don't want to see your people get pushed around. And I didn't even know about those attacks on ships. I'll be very honest. I had no idea that that has happened. Surprised that they didn't combat that sooner. And the fact that all this is going on is just, whew, man, sad to see, honestly. This was all, I was going to show you the strike and everything, but you pretty much saw it. I mean, these guys targeted, you know, this is basically just a car, and it's crazy how it all looks so simple, you know. It was basically a car, and then, you know, they got taken out, and then they pulled out, let me see here. It says CENTCOM and Iraqi forces were able to identify Abu Kahabija through DNA match and DNA collected on previous raids where Abu narrowly escaped. So they know that they got the guy that they were looking for, as well as another ISIS member in that strike. And if it just keeps going, I don't know, man. I don't know. As much as I'm like, good and, always support the Trump administration, it's like, are regular people going to start getting hit? Like that guy said, 35 million people in Yemen. That's the population of Canada, Again, Canada. Same population. I'm just kidding. But, you don't want to see innocent people get taken out. Hopefully it just stays towards the people who deserve it, quote unquote, the attackers. This is wild. So I'll keep you updated on this, but Trump's not playing around. Trump's taking dudes out, a warning to Iran. And it's very interesting that China kind of gets to, like, very casual in this report here, where they're just kind of talking about, and, China is in the background, like, helping out. It's very interesting that doesn't get addressed, They're just kind of doing things in the background, very quiet about it. And Trump is sending a message to Iran, and I'm not saying that he should send one to China or anything, but if you're willing to send one to Iran and you know that China is in the background helping, why hasn't there been some kind of message sent to China? Instead, it's actually been the opposite. Trump's actually working on establishing a better relationship with China. He said he talked to President Xi, and, you know, it's so he speaks to him. They're trying to make a good relationship, and then at the same time he does this. Just seems weird. And then at the end of the day, hopefully no innocent people, but if there are, then the innocent people in Yemen have to deal with what Iran and China are setting them up to do through the Houthis. You know what I mean? People should come right out and it's dumb advice, but you know, if you got a problem, you should be the one to say that you got the problem, you know, instead of all this stuff. Also, very interesting in this report, very open about talking about regime change. That used to not be a thing that news reporters or anyone mainstream would really speak about openly. You know, you'd see it happen, but you wouldn't talk about, like, is this going to be regime change? I think at 6 o'clock, they're going to go through a regime change. Well, this is what it's going to be. They're going to be installing a new government, and we'll see where it goes from there. Like, that's not really a thing that they just openly discuss, but I guess we're in a different time now. Anyway, honestly, war is not my biggest forte, and it's not the funnest thing that I like to talk about. I'll be completely honest with you guys, but I did want to bring you this story because it does seem, when Trump is announcing that somebody has passed away at his hands, basically, you know, that's something that you have to actually cover. But, you know, what do you guys think about what Trump's doing? You know, I think a lot of people will see this and say, okay, he's not anti-war. He's engaging in war. Obviously, this is a lie, you know, another lie by Trump, that kind of thing. I think this is kind of on brand with, this is why I have it right here. I think this is on brand with peace through strength. I think this is what peace through strength means. It means that you're going to be peaceful as much as possible and always try to work towards peace. But, and like I said before, once that line gets crossed, you know, you're facing the might of the U.S. military. And that's not a fight anyone in the world right now can win. So I don't get it. I don't get what they're trying to do here. Anyway, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. I'm out.